How do you deal with difficult clients? That is a question I have asked myself many times throughout my 6 years working in audit. Today, I believe that knowing how to deal with people is one of the most important skills an auditor can have. We spend many hours of our day working with different people in different companies and in situations that are not always comfortable. And the way we manage those relationships can completely change our experience in audit, for better or for worse. So I put together 3 things that have helped me deal with difficult clients, and that may also help you. Number 1, set the ground rules. Most of the time, the person supporting the audit is not the person who hired the audit firm. They have their own responsibilities, their own deadlines, and sometimes they do not fully understand why the auditor is asking certain questions. Some people still believe that auditors are there only to find mistakes, blame someone, or judge their work. That is why one of the first things I try to do is set the ground rules. I explain why we are there, what the purpose of the audit is, what we need to understand, and why certain information is being requested. Our role is not simply to look for what is wrong. We need to understand the processes, assess the risks, and obtain evidence to support our conclusions about the financial information. So, whenever possible, explain the reason behind each request or question. Instead of simply asking for a document, explain what you are trying to understand. This does not mean the client will suddenly love the audit, but it gives them more clarity and helps them understand that you are not working against them. You are both trying to complete the audit in the best possible way.
2. Set realistic and flexible deadlines. Setting deadlines is probably already part of your daily routine, but in my opinion, we should set deadlines for almost everything. Documents, email responses, meetings, explanations, and corrections. A deadline by itself will not improve the relationship. What makes the difference is checking whether that deadline is actually realistic. Remember, the client also has internal responsibilities and deadlines. That is why I try to confirm whether the proposed date is achievable and whether there are any conflicts we should consider. Unexpected issues will always happen during an audit.
When the client lets us know in advance that they will not meet a deadline, we can negotiate a new date, reorganize priorities, and understand what actually happened. This requires flexibility and empathy, but it also requires control. You may be thinking, but if I keep extending deadlines, won't that create problems for my own deliverables? That is exactly why I try to anticipate requests. Whenever possible, I align with the client on documents and information that will be needed before the related audit procedure even begins. I also try to maintain an internal buffer between the deadline agreed with the client and the date when I will actually need the information.
That way, a small delay does not immediately destroy the audit plan. Flexibility does not mean working without deadlines. It means setting realistic deadlines and managing unexpected issues professionally. 3. Be honest and human. Honesty is one of our greatest assets, and audit is no different. Whenever I have some space in my schedule, I try to have a quick conversation with the client. I ask how things are going within the company, how the audit requests are progressing, and whether there are any difficulties we are not aware of. I also try to be transparent about the status of the audit. That does not mean complaining about the workload or putting unnecessary pressure on the client.
It means explaining professionally when a delay is beginning to affect the audit timeline, or when certain information has become urgent. Sometimes, when clients realize that auditors also have deadlines and responsibilities, they become more open about the challenges they are facing, and that can help explain why certain information has not been provided. These conversations help build trust, respect, and better communication. But there is one important point. Being close to the client cannot compromise our independence or professional skepticism. The goal is to build a respectful relationship while still fulfilling our responsibilities as auditors.
Difficult clients will always exist, but in many cases, the relationship improves when there is clarity about the work, well-managed deadlines, and honest communication. You may not always be able to completely change someone's attitude, but you can control the way you communicate, organize the work, and respond to difficult situations. The views expressed in this video are personal, based solely on my professional experience, and do not represent any company or organization.